the past year, I've been working on agents, automations, and AI workflows that are specifically designed to help businesses on the internet generate more money than they've ever done before. And the biggest difference I realized from the internet boom in the 2000s to the AI boom in the 2020s is that the internet boom basically systemized information, whereas AI is systemizing labor. And the best AI agencies that I know are winning by systemizing the best winning workflows that they have created to date and shipping them off to all of their clients. The services and labor market in North America alone is $12 trillion, and software never really had any involvement in that until AI took over. And in this video, I'm gonna show you the one tool that I've been using to build all of my marketing automations that have absolutely changed the workflows for these businesses and have changed my life as well. The AirShare API and the AirShare MCP has over 100 API calls, which gives our AI agents the ability to do anything on social media. From responding to comments and messages, to posting content to all of your social platforms and looking at the analytics, the list goes on. And in this video, I'm gonna give you the full API and MCP breakdown so that you guys can understand exactly how to build your own marketing engines with me. In the No Code Academy, I have a 7-day program where I actually give you a code base that you can go and copy and it'll get you started. And the crazy thing about this is what I'm realizing is that social media marketing agencies of the past are being replaced with what I'm about to show you. So let's buckle up, let's dive right into the docs because this is gonna get a little nerdy, so I hope you're ready for it. So in a previous video, I showed you guys a 1 hour and 20 minutes tutorial of how I actually build marketing operating systems. And the code base that I give you guys here already has access to at least 15 of these API calls, but the rabbit hole of AirShare actually is ridiculous. So my goal of this video, guys, is to literally just show you every single one of these API endpoints and how they work, as well as the new MCP server that gives our agents access to every API call all at once. So without further ado, let's dive right in. If you're brand new to AI or AI automations or all of this type of stuff, then feel free to join the free academy because there's a lot of material that you're going to need to learn for you to understand this. But without further ado, let's get going. The first API call we want to go through, guys, is the profile API call because this is what establishes the connection between our clients and our project. We create a profile key for these users. So there's 3 main keys that you're going to need to know about the AirShare platform. The first key is the API key that you get with your AirShare subscription. The second one is the profile key. So every single person that joins your operating system or joins your marketing system is going to have their own separate profile key. This is what's going to allow us to differentiate whose social accounts are connected to which user. And in this way, we're never going to have crossover between different accounts because let's say as an AI service provider, you have, let's say 20 to 30 clients at the same time, and you can connect all of their socials to one app for you to then manage in one easy place. And so inside of the profiles API call, there's another 5 API calls. So the first one is to actually create the user profile. The second one is to delete. The next one's to update, so on and so forth. Now here's where things get a little bit technical because to create a secured connection between our platform and AirShare, we needed to create something called a JWT. And a JWT uses something called an RSA private key. So that is the third API key that you need. You need the profile key, you need the API key, and then you need the private key. I'm gonna make things a little bit simpler now because I'm just gonna show you how this works. So I'm gonna open up Creator OS and I'm gonna quickly log in. I'm gonna show you that first API call. I'm gonna head over to the Connect Socials. And since I already created a profile key, that profile key is gonna be used when I want to connect my socials. So if we go in the top right corner and we click Connect Accounts, it's gonna make that API call using that JWT token that you saw really quick. I'll do that again so you guys can see. When I click on Connect Accounts, the URL uses the JWT and then it redirects us to the page for us to go and connect our socials. So that's step 1 out of all the API calls. Now, the next one I want to talk about, guys, is analytics, because the beautiful thing about AirShare is that we can get analytics on a post and we can get analytics on a social network. Both of these API calls are very powerful to feed data to our AI agents. So let's say we onboarded a client that's doing like e-commerce clothing, and we want to track how many views we're generating for them or how the performance of their videos are doing. Well, that's where we would use the analytics on a post. And if I were to move my camera really quick, we can see just how in depth each one of these API responses from the social platforms are. So if we go over to like Instagram, right? This is the analytics that you can get from one post. So it's going to tell you the profile activity counts, how many people it actually reached, how many people saved it, shared it, what is the total views, what was the caption, what was the replay. This is really in-depth analytics. And when you feed it to your AI agent, it's going to, over time, get a lot smarter and help you actually make better marketing decisions. And the same thing can happen on the social network level, right? So once a user has connected all of their socials, like I just showed you, then we can run the analytics on a social network. And this is going to check the analytics on every platform at the same time as well. And here we again have in-depth analytics. So what's cool about this is that it is differentiated from the post analytics, right? Because we're able to check like the total followers, the demographic, where are our followers located in the world? So here we can actually see like location. We can see like, for example, on Instagram post analytics, you can see the audience city. You can see the audience city engaged demographics. So how many people from which city engaged with your post the most? You can see the audience country, and like the list goes on and on. Like you even get the gender and the age. And so when you have AI that's understanding this over time, it'll be able to literally tell you exactly what type of content to create. So that's analytics. Now let me just show you how that looks inside of the app. And we head over to the dashboard. This is where we do that analytics API call on the social network level. So if I were to click this get statistics, it's going to go check every single one of my platforms and re-update the total followers, total views, and total posts. Now, if I wanted to, I could add another page that then breaks down the individual posts, right? I have a different solution with that, which is using the MCP server, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So that is how the analytics API call works. All right, so now let's talk about posting content, because this is probably the second hardest part. The first hardest part was adding the RSA private key, which is already in the code base that you're going to be forking from the Academy. So you don't even have to worry about that, but this is where it does get a little bit confusing. So when you upload content to social media, if the file is bigger than like 50 megabytes, you actually need to upload it to the cloud. So when a user makes a post, these are the API calls. So we can publish the post, we can get the post, delete it, update it, so on and so forth. Now, when a post is actually uploaded and there's a video in it and the video is over 50 megabytes, we also need to use the media API call, because the media API call turns the video that you uploaded into a cloud video. And when you upload a video into the cloud, it becomes publicly viewable. So another way to simplify this is if you ever used Google Drive and you uploaded anything to Google Drive and you changed it from private to shared, it's the same type of process here, so that the agent can go and grab that public URL and use that public URL to upload the content. Once again, we already have that integrated to the code base that you're going to be forking, but there still are some limitations between each platform. So if we scroll down to the social networks right here and we open this up, this is going to give you all of the restrictions that each platform may or may not have. And once again, on our front end, this is how we've actually designed it. So if we go and click the upload and schedule posts page, we can see that we've actually formatted our upload form with 4 different variations. So users can upload short form video, long form video, Instagram and Twitter threads, and Facebook and Instagram stories. And that's because each one of these API calls needs a different schema. So if I were to just go into Instagram's API, for example, we can see that we can upload carousel images, which is a separate API call. We can upload Instagram Reels. We could do Instagram Stories, and we can add thumbnails on top of these Instagram Reels as well. And so we did our best to make sure that this happened. So if we were to show you a test upload by selecting Instagram, I'm just going to write a quick caption here, and I'm going to go grab a video. So now that we have the video and the post content uploaded, the next part of the form is letting us add a thumbnail. And so if I wanted to, I can upload a thumbnail, but let's just show you how this example works. I'm now going to click upload post. This is going to make that exact API call. Another thing that we did to make things easier on our users and for the people that want to develop on top of this is that when you select a platform, we actually show you the requirements from those platforms. So right now, Instagram lets you upload videos up to 1 gigabyte with a maximum duration of 15 minutes. And every single platform that you select will also tell you their limitations as well. All right, so that was the post API call, and you guys can continue to go down that rabbit hole, but I think we have it pretty well laid out that you should set different formats, right? So short form video, long form video, potentially stories, and potentially something else that you may want to add in there. And I think that works the best. And then, obviously there's other platforms that we're going to introduce later on, right? So Reddit has its own entire list of API calls that we can make separately because Reddit has subreddits, right? So a really interesting marketing channel that you can spin up really quickly with any of your clients is finding, let's say, 10 to 20 subreddits that would be your target market fit for your client, right? So I make AI videos, right? So what we would use Reddit for is posting to the N8N Reddit, to the Replit Reddit, to Cursor, to No Code. And all of these subreddits have thousands or tens of thousands of users. And so it's just free marketing to get your stuff out there as well. Same thing with Snapchat, right? But Snapchat has a completely different demographic. So if we were like an e-commerce brand or we were targeting towards the youth, then using something like Snapchat, especially their Spotlight API call, which puts it on their organic For You page, would be really, really powerful. Now, let's say we had a couple of messaging bots, right? Or we had some bots that were involved with our clients. Well, we can tie in Telegram right here, and this agent can be interacting with your clients in real time. But for the most part, guys, I'm really focused on Facebook, Google Business, Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. So now, once an upload is posted, we actually want to show our user that the content has been uploaded or scheduled out in advance. And so that's where the history API call comes into play. So every single time that you upload a piece of content through the operating system, it gives you this ID. So if we look at the response of the post here, we can see that this post ID was stated right here. And this post ID can be used in the future to actually get the post back in this history API call. And so we've added the history API call to the content calendar page. So if we head over to the content calendar page right here, we can see that on this operating system, when you upload content, it then gets shown in this feed. Now, one other note that we want to knock home here is the reason why you can't actually see this video is because we store every post in the history for up to 7 days in the cloud. And then after that, we get rid of it in the cloud to save space. Because if we're posting content on behalf of our clients, we're only going to be scheduling them out for a week in advance. And so they're going to be able to come onto this content calendar page and essentially choose what they want to do. And so in July, when we were using this version of the operating system, when a post gets uploaded or scheduled out, it actually gets shown inside of the calendar as well. So if this video was made for our client and it was scheduled out in advance, they would simply be able to review the video. If they're satisfied, it'll be uploaded. But if they weren't satisfied, then they can just click this little delete button in the bottom right-hand corner, and that will delete the video entirely. And so when you do the post history and you see a platform is scheduled out, that then leads itself to the scheduled API call, which would be this auto schedule dropdown. So when you have the post history ID, you can use the post history ID to actually get the auto schedule of the content that's going to get uploaded. And this is where you can also delete the content that's going to get uploaded before it does. All right, guys, so let's get into social messages because it's by far like the next most exciting thing in this API list, because when you are generating leads or you're creating videos or you have a ManyChat automation that says like comment and I'll send you something in the DM, that sends all of those DMs into the operating system. And so once you have lists and lists of conversations, that gives our AI agents the ability to continue those conversations. So inside of the operating system here, we've actually scheduled out 2 automations, one on Twitter and one on LinkedIn. And the one on Twitter scrapes all of the people that have liked my posts, and then I send them a DM. This agent is literally just sending them the exact same thing over and over and over. And once they respond, we can then have an agent go and close the deal. And we do that across Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And it's all in one place. So that's the first part that's really exciting. Now, the second part about the social messages is that you can also set auto responses. So similar to ManyChat, you can just have an instant response. So if you had a call to action that said, send me a DM and I'll give you this resource, this is how you can actually get that done, where every single time you get a message, the exact same response happens every single time. And in this way, again, you don't even have to pay for ManyChat and you can just use this. All right, so messages segues us pretty well into comments because it's very similar. So with comments, we can post comments on other channels, right? So if you're watching, if you want to be like the top commenter on a big channel, then you can set up an automation to trigger when that user uploads. So let's say like you want to be at the top of every time Alex Ramosi uploads and every time Replit uploads, every time Cursor uploads, you can set up this automation to then automatically respond, but you could also just reply to comments. And so this is mainly what we're using it for because once again, this allows us to kind of bypass paying for the ManyChat automation because we have it right here. All right, so I do mainly organic marketing, but you can also do ads, obviously. And inside of Airshare's API, you're also going to have the analytics from the ads that you're running. And this is quite useful because if you're a Facebook ads manager or a LinkedIn ads manager or Google ads manager, you don't want to give them access to your actual account, right? That's a security risk. So mapping in the actual data that your ads are doing would be really nice for your clients to see on the front end. And we're eventually going to get into ads as well when we're to sell the operating system code base. And so we're going to map in the ads API as well very shortly. But essentially, in a nutshell, what this is going to give you is how much you've spent, how many days your ads have been running, and then the metrics, right? So you're going to be able to get really in-depth metrics comparing the amount that you spent to the amount of, impressions you got, the amount of reach that you got, the amount of clicks, conversion rates. This is really high-level stuff because, if a client needs to create one sale for every $1,000 in spend, and you can literally show them that you're doing that, then they're going to be a long-time client for sure. Okay, so a few more API calls. Now, these ones aren't as glamorous, but they use a lot of AI tools. So the first one we want to talk about is this generate tab. So let's say that, we have a workflow that's creating a video and the video is ready to go and be uploaded. Well, we still need to add, the post text. We need to potentially transcribe the video. We potentially need to translate the video. And these three API calls do all of that, right? So let's say we now generated the post text and all that fun stuff. Now we can go crazy with the SEO. So we have the hashtags and we can use the transcription of the video to then generate some cool hashtags based on what the person was talking about in the content. And so in this way, we can now not just create the videos, not just upload the videos, but just do the whole end-to-end process that I was referring to earlier in this video. And this is what creates a $12 trillion market opportunity because we're just doing AI services in marketing. We're not like showing up to anyone's house and filming them anymore. We're just getting a clone of them and then we're running them through the system. All right, guys. So it almost sums up the Airshare API. Now, the other ones I don't want to dive into too much because I want to talk about the MCP server and how this can play a massive role into your business. So now imagine we are using all of these APIs that I just showed you manually, right? So like we, have a workflow that's uploading content or creating content, and then every now and then we still have to manually click buttons. But if you give an AI agent the MCP server to Airshare, it essentially gives it access to every single tool at once, and you can conversate with this agent through a normal chat. And so I want to show you what we're working on in real time with this. So if we head over to Creator OS on the dashboard and we head over to the chief operating agent, this agent is an MCP server, meaning we can literally send in content and just say upload it. Or another agent can send content to this agent and say upload it, and we don't have to do anything. And the reason why is just because of how MCP works, right? MCP basically gets rid of all of these API schemas. So an API schema, if we were to go inside of a random API call here, we'll see here on the right-hand side, this is the API call that we have to make, right? For this request to work. But instead of every single time we have to make the call, we have to specifically tell the agent how to make it, it'll just know it already. And so that's the power of the MCP server. And the second most important thing about this is then you can just interact with it in a normal chat, or you can even just have a voice conversation with it and it'll do all of the things that you want. So that's the first really big advantage of the MCP. Now, the second big advantage is that another MCP alongside AirShare is your database, right? So for using these analytic API calls to track the actual analytics on a post and the analytics on a social network, all of that information, all of that data can be given to the same MCP agent. And so all of a sudden, your MCP agent can create the content, but it is also hyper aware of how you are already performing, and it'll understand how you can improve upon it. Now, we're going to take things a whole nother step further because we're releasing an AI model called Market One, and Market One is actually going to be trained on all of my social media marketing knowledge so that when you start using it, it's going to be that plus your actual analytics. And in that way, you should become a pretty decent marketer, in my opinion. All right, so we spoke about the MCP server. We spoke about the APIs that are actually going to be integrated into your operating system. Now let's talk about the APIs that we can use to give to other AI agents that work on N8N or work on Make.com, Zapier, whatever. And that is through the webhooks. So if we look on the left-hand side here, we have a register webhook. Now, once you register this webhook, it can trigger off on essentially any action. But let's look at the available actions. So we can have it on a scheduled event. So when a post gets scheduled, the webhook can trigger. When a post gets uploaded, when a social action happens, when a messages occur. And these are very important, right? So let's say we have a message that came in and then a webhook as the next step. Well, message came in, webhook triggers it off, then we can send that trigger to another AI agent to then send the message, right? Another example could be looking at your competitors. So if we look at the feed API call, we can actually set up something called an RSS feed. And essentially what an RSS feed is something that is like always waiting to notify when something happens, right? So the feed is basically waiting, and when the RSS feed can trigger off or when something happens in this feed, you can then have another action. So let's say we were looking at a competitor, or let's say we were looking at a bunch of competitors. Well, if this RSS feed triggers off, then we can have the webhook analyze the post from our competitor and then funnel that into our operating system. And that is actually one of the other agents that we built. So if we go inside of the active AI agents, which is a whole nother rabbit hole, we have the YouTube competitor agent, the TikTok competitor agent, and the Twitter competitor agents, right? So what these agents are doing is essentially what I just explained. They're looking at our competitors' content and then they're scraping them and they're adding it to our feed so that we can go and review them and potentially learn what they're talking about. In a nutshell, guys, that is how I used the AirShare API to build CreatorOS for the web, CreatorOS iOS, CreatorOS macOS, and I've attached a whole bunch of AI agents to it. And this is also what I gave away in the No Code Academy. You guys have a 7-day program to literally build everything that I just showed you. And this just gives you a really quick head start because even this video that you see here, that's an hour and 46 minutes long, took me like couple of weeks to actually film. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm telling you, this is the biggest opportunity. This is why I'm doing it myself, and I'll see you in the next one.